We begin today with an establishing shot of a typical house. I think we established that somebody doesn't want Sam in that house.
Are you all right?
For a man his age, he moves pretty good.
Did he recognize you?
I found his glasses before he found the light switch.
What else did you get?
Pictures of his tax returns. Shall we go back to the dark room and see what develops?
Well, there's only one more name on the list. We might as well finish it. Mr. King's nurse.
Ida Bering, girl swinger. She has a playpen out on Highland Avenue.
Let's shake it and see if it rattles.
Don't worry, all will be revealed soon enough. First, let's check in on this swinger nurse. She might want to ignore that because I get the feeling that's not her first martini of the evening and she may or may not be able to navigate her way back down the stairs.
Quick, Sam.
They won't be asking her any questions. Let's find out what this is all about.
All of you, sit down. Now, the introductions aren't necessary. The board members already know who you are.
And we know who they are.
Yes, well, they've all been informed that I've hired you to investigate everybody in the company who has access to confidential information.
And that answers the question of what they were doing running around those different places. Charles Lane didn't always look like the stereotypical mean old man, considering he'd been acting since he was 25. But as he got older and grew into that face, he got more and more popular. One show or another always needed the genuine sourpuss, and his demeanor was especially effective in sitcoms. As you might guess, in real life, he was just the opposite, a nice guy, well-spoken, compassionate. He was married to the love of his life for 71 years. He died peacefully in 2007 at the tender age of 102.
Now then, have you seen the morning papers? Nurse of tycoon Kelso King found dead. You'll have to excuse me, but some sneak thief broke into my house last night and somehow my glasses...
Hey, wait a minute. How did you...
You did hire us to investigate everyone.
Last night was your turn in the barrel. You're clean like the rest of them.
Well, you should have identified yourself. I might have shot you.
At the time, I'd just taken pictures of your personal records.
My personal records?
We couldn't know if you were clean until we developed the film.
My personal records?
You're not supposed to investigate me. I'm not part of everybody. I'm something different, doggone it.
We arrived at Miss Bering's house just a moment after she was killed.
Any clues as to who killed her?
Not a one. Obviously, she knew more than a good nurse should.
Well, Miss Bering was no longer his nurse. He fired her last week.
Who else is close to him?
Only his secretary, Mr. Carson, and a handyman.
Maybe we'd better talk to them.
Well, you can't. Mr. King never leaves the premises, and neither do they.
So he's arranged for Mr. King to have a new nurse, Honey.
Why don't you drive up to that house on the hill and ask him?
Well, to say the least, he's a bit eccentric. Nobody's seen Kelso King for over 8 years. Either he or a secretary calls, gives instructions, and that's it.
And he gets rich that way? I'd like to meet him.
You just hired yourself a nurse.
Mr. King has a strange quirk. He can't regulate his body temperature. He took a bullet to the shoulder several years earlier. He still has a scar from it. Anyway, the bullet damaged something and destroyed his body's ability to self-regulate. He has to use all kinds of artificial means to keep his temperature under control.
Here's a dossier on Kelso King. Contains all the facts that he was able to keep out of the newspapers.
Oh, a dossier. When he said it was a doser, I thought he meant it was a list of medications or something.
Florence Nightingale, you old son of a gun. But you need a little something. Like this little camera watch, right there.
Right here.
I also put a transceiver in the clasp of your bag.
A bug bag, bully.
Her thermometer is also a microphone. She should be all set.
Hey, what are you doing up there?
Deep sea diving. What are you doing down there?
That fence carries a lot of your merchandise. You better watch it.
I'll watch it.
She also has backup right there on that pole where he can probably shut off the power to that electric fence if he needs to.
Your references are impressive, Miss Miller. Excuse me, I'll speak to Mr. King.
Please, make yourself comfortable.
Thank you, Mr. Carson.
She has to assume it's a two-way mirror, which it is. She'll keep snooping anyway. It's what anybody knew who came into this place would do when left alone. May as well do what they expect.
Whose little boy are you?
That's Mrs. Kiel's little boy, Richard. Does he just stand behind that fake wall all day on the off chance that someone might open it?
Please, sit down, Miss Miller.
That's just the beginning of the weirdness around this place.
Miss Miller, Mr. King.
How do you do?
Mr. King prefers not to be touched.
And how is she supposed to give him injections and such without touching him? Speaking of which, what is she supposed to do for him?
You will prepare my medications. Carson will supply the list. I will administer them myself. There are 4 suites upstairs. Take your choice. No. That will be unnecessary. I stay under the fan until my temperature drops to 93 degrees. Then I move to the fireplace till it rises to 104.
And without the thermometer, how do you know when you've reached one extreme or the other? But since he doesn't want it, she'll dispose of it, as we saw.
You will confine yourself to the house proper. Your duties will take you only from this room to your suite to the kitchen.
Am I allowed one phone call?
Carson will relay your messages.
How long am I in for?
24 hours.
In other words, you are now their captive. Presumably a paid captive, but a captive nonetheless. If she's not allowed to leave under any circumstances, that's commonly known as kidnapping. But he's rich, so the rules don't apply to him, as we know. He sends her to prepare his medications and make him some herb tea. But this is a big house, and it's easy to get lost on the way to the kitchen.
I still say she's too nosy.
What do you think?
She takes instructions well.
Too well.
I'll give her a moment, then follow her.
She's taking full advantage of that moment they gave her. Those pictures are going to become very important. If you were watching Mr. King closely, you already know why. She's got to be behind those drapes, and he's going to catch her. Except there's nothing there but an open window. She must be in the next room. He dashes over there.
I'll make the tea. You fix the shots.
Let's get one thing straight. You make the tea, I'll fix the shots.
As long as he understands who's boss around here, they'll get along fine.
Oh, I'll take the tray, Miss Miller. That'll be all for now.
Go on upstairs and make yourself at home.
My bag's in the car.
Well, now it's at the top of the stairs.
In other words, we're keeping you from going outside because for the next 24 hours you belong to us and we can do what we want with you. It still boils down to kidnapping in my book.
Well, it's quiet so far. No reason for you to keep sitting up on that pole like a big-eyed bird.
You're right. The guards are getting growly.
Why don't you and your developer kit meet me by the east fence at 9 o'clock?
9, 5.
I guess he will need to cut the power to that electric fence. Or he can do that. Honey appears dressed in her usual black jumpsuit. That makes sense. It's hard to shinny down a wall in a nurse's uniform.
What kind of picture did you get?
Cheesecake.
Let's have a look at those pictures she took. They're in the van, even though if she has any sense at all, she will not go back in that place.
Wait a minute, where's his scar? Sam, that's not Kelso King.
It's a ringer, but why?
It's a big power play by somebody.
Carson?
He's in the right place.
He could have got rid of everybody who knew a switch had been pulled.
Whatever happened to Kelso King, the answer's in that house.
There are times when I overestimate how much sense she has. She has solid evidence that the man in that chair is not Kelso King. Take it to the police and to Mr. Ash.
Did you get a good look at the man she met?
Just a glimpse.
Well, maybe it's her boyfriend. Complete with fence climbing equipment. Don't be a bigger fool that comes naturally.
He was poking around outside and saw the whole thing. Sam needs to get Honey out of there now.
I caught her snooping before.
Gate. Get me the license number on the new nurse's car.
Sam knows he can't get there in time. There's nothing to do but call Honey and warn her.
Hello, Sam. Not a creature is stirring.
That's what you think. They're onto you. Now get out of there.
What can they do, fire me?
Remember how they fired the last nurse, Honey? She needs to take this a little more seriously.
They're on the way to your room right now. Now get out of there.
Too late.
Who is it?
Carson wants you.
Just a minute.
No minute, now.
She really thinks she can get out of here now that he's on her tail.
Thanks, Max. She's a private detective.
What is it?
A listening device. Turn out that hi-fi, quick. Real loud. There may be more of these around.
While they're searching for more bugs, Honey has her own problems. One of her smoke bombs might come in handy right now, but she doesn't have her purse. One of the many reasons I prefer pockets.
Take me to your leader.
Hiding in the closet only works if he didn't see you go in there.
Since I don't know how much you do know, I shall have to presume that it's too much.
Like what happened to the real Kelso King.
The day after tomorrow, his remains will be found in the wreckage of his personal jet.
King Industries stock will hit a new low, and you'll buy the controlling interest.
Precisely. And then Mr. King will appear publicly and correct the tragic misunderstanding about his death. And the stocks will rise again.
Yes, this whole thing is about nothing more than stock manipulation. How much do you want to bet that as quick as that happens and Carson collects his fortune, Mr. King will once again mysteriously turn up dead?
Your associate, where is he?
Where is he? Where is he? Now, wait a minute. Don't tell me. It'll come to me. Where is he? Where is he?
As the saying goes, he's right behind you. He'll use that wire to do a Sam Fisher type zip line over the fence to the house. I admit that does look like fun. If I was capable of holding my own weight for that long, which I'm probably not. But the next time I go to Catalina, they have a zip line course that looks pretty amazing, and I think I'm gonna try it. I'll try to get video if I do, so you can see this goofy old guy trying to keep up with the whippersnappers. Maybe he should have ziplined through there, too. And there's something else he forgot. He forgot he was wearing those things. It's hard to make a quick escape when you keep sticking to the floor. But there's no time to take them off. He'll just have to go with it.
How long have you been king of the mountain?
Long enough, sister.
They never expect something like that out of an attractive, elegant woman, which most always gives her an advantage like that.
Hey, if the date's off, give me back my fraternity pin.
We can swap jewelry after we get out of here in two pieces. The big guy, Groalgo by name of all things, sees the gun and follows them through the secret passage. It's nice of Sam to leave those clues for him so the poor little thing doesn't get lost. The passage leads to this.
Donnie would have loved this.
Wow.
Carson told her the place is built over a thermal spring and some of those pools can be dangerous, not to say deadly. He was threatening her with one when things started to go sideways.
What? New gun.
And by the way, he knows another way in here. Now, aren't you glad you couldn't get those things off?
Are you all right, Sam?
I think the young man's superb. Who is he?
Mr. King, I presume. These guys are making the same mistake they all do. They've got their ringer in place. It's all established. They don't need the real king anymore, but rather than just eliminate him, they keep him alive in a dungeon so that someday he can rise up and bite them in the butt. They said the authorities would find his body burned beyond recognition. That being the case, it really doesn't matter when you kill him because any evidence will be destroyed in the fire. Lucky for a lot of rich guys, the villains never think of that. Now the three of them just need a way out of here that doesn't involve the guys upstairs shooting them.
Pull those wires.
What?
Pull the wires.
Get the wires. Why didn't I think of that?
He yanks out some wires and drops their ends into a nearby pool.
They're in the cellar.
Hello, Mr. Carson.
Wait a minute. If those wires are in the water and she turned the juice on, there should be some nice big sparks and the fuses inside that switch box should blow out instantly. What you have there is commonly known by a couple of names: short circuit, fire hazard.
Did you really think this was a way out?
Way out!
Are they dead?
No, just stunned.
You're sure about that? I'd check some pulses just to be certain, because a jolt like that can have a tendency to make hearts do things like stop.
Electrocution is illegal in California.
Oh, well, that explains it. We can't have Honey getting in trouble with the law. Again. And his demeanor was especially effective in syncoms, where he can probably shut off the power to the up right there on that pole, where he can probably shut off that carpet man, where he can probably shut off the power to that electric fence if he needs to. I go, boy, could I do that with any less inflection? He'll use that wire to do a Sam Fisher type zip line over to the. Read the line. The passage leads to passage, not passage. Then just eliminate him. They keep him alive in a dungeon, so